Hey guys, how's it going? Mike here, and today I'm going to be bringing you a quick guide on how to kill Airits and get the best XP rate that you can get. So, to get to Airits, easiest way to do this is click on your ribbon, get to the Community tab, go to your group system, click on Liberation of Mascab, view selected, click on Create a new group, update the group, click Ready. You'll get a complete group button. As soon as you get that, then click teleport all. Just press 1. As soon as you do this, also leave your group. And that's it. Nice, fast, and easy. There are some different types of gear setups that you can take while doing Airits, and it depends on how you're killing them and what you're going to need. So if you're going to be dismantling your stuff instead of siphons that you can see in my inventory, you're going to be taking extra pieces of armor. Sometimes you'll take one set. That's going to be most of the time. Sometimes you will need to take 2 so you don't have to bank in that 1 hour. And also it depends on if you're going to be looting on the same account you're killing on or if you're going to be looting on a different account. So this setup right here is perfect if you're going to be siphoning and going to be looting on a different account. So you can take as much stuff as you can and don't need to have as much inventory space as possible. So for gear, your armor is not going to change for the most part. The only thing that is going to change through this setup is you can have different necklaces on and you can use different auras throughout the hours. You can upgrade some of this stuff, so you don't need to use bandos. It's just the cheapest armor that you can get, and you don't want to add extra costs. You can use Malevolent Helmet or a Torva Helmet or anything else if you want to upgrade. Same thing with gloves, Torva or Razorbacks. I wouldn't recommend using the defensive, so tier 85 boots and gloves. It's just really not worth it. You don't need that extra bit of defense. So for your ring, I use a Ring of Death because you do have a chance of dying, especially if you AFK quite a bit. You can replace this with any other ring that you'd like, something with the Asylum Surgeons, or you can have an Imbued Warrior ring, or just anything that you'd like. Ring of Vigor, not really going to be that helpful, but you can take it if you'd like. For auras, you can use Vampirism. You don't really need the healing, especially if you're using a Amulet of Souls. If you're going to replace that Amulet of Souls with a Zerka necklace, then you might want to have Vampirism as part of your rotation. But other than that, you can take a Supreme Brawler aura, or a Knockout, or a Master Knockout, or just any version of that aura. Also have Penance. Penance can be useful. The biggest thing why you'd take Penance is if you're taking hour-long trips and you're having somebody looting while you're trying to loot on another account, you pop Penance on, take out all you get 8 free inventory spaces so you can take out all your replenishment pots and your super restores since you won't need that for the most part. And you can usually wait the person out so they can hop for you. That's the only time you'd use Penance. But other than that, another aura that you can use is Dark Magic, and you just use those 5 auras in rotation or take one of them out and put something else in that you might think is better. Other than that, musts that you have to have with you is Scrimshaw Vampirism. You will not survive without this thing. It is extremely useful. You can trade Mage here at Airits, and it's around the same amount of XP an hour, but you can't use the Scrimshaw Vampirism, so when you do that, a Vampirism aura is a must, and it is going to be kind of hard, so you got to pay attention for that one. Other than that, you're going to want to have Magic Notepaper on your main, and if you are using a looter, you're going to want to have a lot more on that account. This is just in case a looter hops in, so you can pick up a lot of the drops that you can and note them yourself. Other than that, the things you can swap out, so if you're going to want to use, if you're having problems with looting and you just want to loot on one account, then this setup works the best for you. It's the exact same setup except you're going to take for 36 minutes instead of an hour and 12 minute setup. So half the potions for everything. You can also get rid of most of your equipment siphons because you probably only need 1 or 2 during that entire time. You rarely need 3. And you can also probably bank your blood nihil because you'll probably have enough time on your nihil and you won't have to worry about this kind of stuff. The food that you take is not mandatory. I'd recommend if you've already set up and you don't have that many rangers attacking you, eat the food or drop it. You get a ton of sharks during the kills and you can just use that for the most part. But that's your gear. Now I'm going to show you how to set up your cannon and get ready for killing. When you're setting up your cannon, you're just going to want to come west of the bank. Super easy to get here. And then go to this rock, stand in the middle of this rock, and you want to walk 6 squares away. So counting the first one, that's 1, and then 2, and then 3, if I can click, 4, 5, and 6. So this is a square where you want to set up your cannon, so just set it up right there. And then to find out where you're going to want to stand is you're going to walk 2 squares diagonally to the northwest. So we go 1 and 2. So this is the spot where you're going to want to stand when you're killing all the Airits. when you're first setting up to kill Airits, this is the most dangerous part. This is why we have the food with us. So once you have that spot, just drop a piece of food. Usually you'd want to take an extra shark or something like that so you can have set up. And then put your prayers on, which is going to be protect melee and berserk, or turmoil, sorry. Pot up, aura, scrimshaw, and then turn your cannon on, and the first thing you're going to do is go straight after the rangers. So you want to kill the rangers as soon as possible because they are the most dangerous to you. When you start out, do pay attention. You might want to pray range in some of these occasions because you're going to have a lot of rangers, something like this, where you have 4 of them. If they spec you out, you will die, and it is not fun. And since you have a Ring of Death, you won't lose much, especially when you first start up. So, highly recommended. This is the reason why you bring your food. Sometimes you'll get lucky and you'll have just all rangers or all or meleeers, and you won't have to worry about this. But just kill off all the rangers. You can pick up your loot. I'm not going to be picking up my loot in this guide just to speed things along. And once you've killed all the rangers, come to your spot and you're going to want to stand here. That's it. And once you're set up, you'll rarely get rangers that spawn. If you're using a berserk aura, as soon as a ranger spawns and starts attacking you and it gets tagged, I would recommend killing it right away. If you're using Amulet of Souls, you won't have to worry about this. Make sure to remember to switch to your melee prey because this will kill you. So right now, since I'm using Amulet of Souls, you don't really have to worry about that Airut right there. So if you're going to be doing self-looting, so what you're going to want to do is drop a rocktail or a piece of food, click on it, and that'll open up your loot interface, and you want to click Loot Custom. So for your loot settings, you're going to want to have everything turned on and have your loot monetary settings set to 5,000. So it won't loot anything that's worth under 5,000. So a situation like this where you see everything getting a little bit dangerous, what you're going to want to do is you can use Devotion. You don't really need it, especially if you're using Amulet of Souls. You're rarely going to need it, and it's not going to make that much of an impact. If you're using a Berserker Necklace, it will help you quite a bit. So your ability rotation you're going to want to use is if Hurricane is available, use Hurricane right away. If Hurricane is not available or is on cooldown, then you want to use Quake. If both those two abilities aren't available, then your next ability you're going to want to use is going to be Meteor Strike. And you want to Meteor Strike as soon as you can. And as soon as you do that, that also gives you a nice little boost where Meteor Strike, the ability, also lets you for the next 30 seconds, anytime you crit, it gives you 10% adrenaline, which is a huge boost. If you have a Ring of Death, that also has a chance of proccing and giving you 5% adrenaline as soon as you kill something. So now as you see again, Hurricane is available, you use that, and then you use Quake again. So now all 3 of these abilities are on cooldown and they're not available, so the next thing you're going to do is Zerk. If you notice that you're low on life points, then you might want to do Devotion before you Zerk, and now that you're Zerk, you just repeat the same things that you did before. So as soon as Hurricane's available, use Hurricane, and then Quake. This is why taking replenishment pots will boost up your kills per hour quite drastically. And if you are looting, just remember your loot will stay on the ground for 2 minutes. It will stay only available to you for 1 minute, and then anybody can see it for the next 1 minute after that. So remember to click on your food that you have on the ground, click Loot Custom, and then just pick it up. The easiest way to do this is Shift Spacebar will also do Loot Custom, or if you want to just loot everything that's there, then you can do Shift just Space by itself, and that's all you need. But that's how you kill the Airits. Super simple, and you just rinse and repeat, change your auras every once in a while. So the thing is, the main reason you don't want to have your loot interface open the entire time is it does turn off your aggro, or your auto-retaliate, sorry. So if you're not paying attention, you can easily, and I mean very easily, die. Because you won't be noticing that everything is attacking you, but you're not attacking it and not getting your heals. So if you're using a looter, there's not going to be that many differences. The biggest one is you can take trips that are over an hour or over the 36 minutes, so you can last longer, so you don't have to bank as much, which is kind of nice. And the other thing is, when you're looting on another account, you can get other looters that come and try to take your stuff. This is the most annoying part, and this is why a lot of people do choose to loot on one account. It is a bit more pain in the ass, but it is worth it in the long run since you don't have to deal with those looters. There are some tips and tricks I can give you that will help you out. If a looter does come, ask them nicely to leave. Don't need to insult them. That's just going to make most people want to stay even more. If you ask them nicely, a lot of them will leave. Some of them won't, and that's when you start looting on your main. That's why you have those extra magic no papers on your main, even if you do loot on an alt. And just start picking them up, and most of the time they will leave. If they still don't want to leave, and you keep asking them nicely to hop, then I would say go get Penance Aura. This is the reason why we have Penance Aura as part of your rotation. And just bank all your stuff, and it makes it a lot easier to loot on your main. And usually this will make them hop. Another thing is, if you don't mind losing out on some XP and not being on a world that has 1000 plus, because without that it is really hard to get the high XP rates, then you can go to World 52, which is a VIP member world. So to do this, you do need your looter account to have VIP membership. I know a lot of people don't have access to this, but it is something that I did and it helped a ton. That world can get busy sometimes because a lot of people do self-loot on that world to not have to deal with looters. So then you can go to any of the other worlds that have level restrictions, so World 48 for 2400 plus, or another world that has 2000 plus, or even other worlds that have 1500 plus. The world that I used was World 30, that's a 1500 plus total level world. You will rarely see people. I think I did my second batch of 40,000 kills that I did, so around 42,000 kills at that world, World 15, and I got maybe one person to come loot every 6 hours, and even then, when you ask them to leave, they always left for me, so that's a huge tip that I can give you. When you're looting on your alt, it's not any different than when you're looting on your main. All you're going to do is loot custom as much as possible, just drop that one shark at the very beginning, and go. That's it, very simple. So now let's get into the numbers and your XP per hour, your kills per hour, and what you should expect to get for training at Airut. So your kills per hour is going to range. It really depends on how AFK you are and if you're keeping that ability rotation going and how populated your world is. So if you have a world that has 1000 plus, which is the recommended to do, you're going to be getting around 650 kills per hour when you're going at max speed. If you have a world where you're going to have a very low population, which is what you want to do if you're looting on an alt account, because then you don't have as many crashers, you'll probably get around 550, maybe 600 if you can keep your ability rotation going really good. But we'll take 550 and 650 as examples, and I'll give you the XP rates that you'll get as at those two. So Invention XP, if you're siphoning and you're killing around 550 an hour, you're going to get around 1.17 mil. Invention XP an hour, and if you're killing at 650, you're going to be getting around 1.38, so a small amount of difference is around 210k an hour, so it is worth to pay attention and go to that 1k plus world, but if the headache is too much, then you can go and get just a little bit less. If you're dismantling, the difference is going to be quite a big. It's 1.67 mil if you're AFKing a bit and not on a good world, and 1.97 if you're going really hard on a good population world. So the difference you're going to notice is only around 50% XP, and as we get into later, I'll show you why I don't think it's worth it to dismantle over siphoning. Your combat XP, you're going to be getting between 1.1 and 1.3 mil combat XP an hour. That's also including your cannon XP, and you can set that cannon XP to range or defense. This is one of the reasons why you don't want to train defense while you're doing everything else until you're 200 mil in the other skills, because defense is going to be the only thing you can train with your cannon if you're already 200 mil range. So for drops, you're going to get around 9.5 mil worth of drops an hour. That's averaging at, if you get 600 kills an hour, so you can get a little bit more, so around 10.2 mil if you're at 650 kills an hour. But for the rest of the calculations, I'm just going to take straight down the middle 600 kills an hour. So at that kills, you're going to get, as I said before, 9.5 mil an hour, around 300 to around 320-ish Crimson Charms. This number I couldn't really get down because the amount of charms that I got when I did mine was quite a bit more than the RuneScape Wiki, so I just averaged the rate between the two, and I'm going off that. Your costs are going to be around 800k an hour for charges, so your divine charges. You're also going to be spending around 600k an hour on your Vampirism Scrimshaw, 1.4 mil for your cannonballs every hour, 1.4 mil for your magic notepaper, around 100k for your springs, 300k for your pots and your food, and 70k for your nihils. You're also going to be paying, especially if you use your Amulet of Souls or your Berserker Amulet and your Ring of Death, that's also going to add around another 500k an hour, so I'll add that all up into the total. If you do use siphons, that's another 680k an hour. If you're dismantling, I found the cheapest armor that you're going to do it with is probably Verax, and that's 4 mil for a set. That's going to add another 5.5 mil an hour to your dismantle to your costs. So normally, with everything considered, it's going to cost you around 5.1 mil an hour. That's just your base cost, and that's all your costs that you're going to have. This does mean you make around 4.3 mil profit an hour. It is a lot of cost, but the amount of money you make is still worth it, and still quite a lot for something that's quite AFK and not as hard to do as anything else you'd be doing for around that amount of money. And for the amount of XP you get, it's really worth it. If you're doing this for with siphoning, it's gonna cost you around 5.8 mil an hour, so that's around 3.6 mil profit per hour. If you're dismantling though, it's gonna cost you around 10.7 mil an hour, and that's a 1.2 mil loss per hour. So the reason I say dismantling is not really worth it is because the amount of time you save to the amount of XP, to the amount of money you're gonna lose because you're dismantling is just obscene. So I don't know if a lot of you are familiar with TVC, so all it means is the amount of money you need to make per hour for let's say if you do 100 hours, you'll save around 30 hours if you do dismantling, but in that 30 hours, the amount of money you have to make is so much, you'd have to make around 15 mil each and every single hour for that time that you save for it to be worth it to dismantle. And I know a lot of people aren't going to be able to make that, so it's really not worth it for you. Something I found out just before I published this video is that if you use the Tetsu armor, so the tier 85 superior version, and you siphon that armor instead of Torva, you actually get 7.5% more XP. I completely forgot that there's a higher tier of armor that you could actually augment currently, and it would be better if you are going to train, you could wait until the tier 90 armors become augmentable to get better XP per hours, but currently with Tetsu, you'll get around 1.23 mil XP an hour at 550 kills, and you'll get 1.45 mil an hour if you're doing 650 kills an hour. So it is a little bit faster and worth it. The costs are going to be a little bit higher just for the divine charges, nothing else, but it should even out and be a lot better XP per hour. So overall, Airuts are an amazing place to train at. I'll highly recommend you to go train there. It is kind of packed, so you do have to hop worlds. Please, I do say, do not crash people. If you see somebody using a world, if you see a cannon there and you don't see somebody that's actually there at the point, they might have just died or they might be banking, so please hop worlds. Somebody could just be holding the world. I know it's annoying if they're holding a really good world that you want, but just give them the benefit of the doubt and be nice. Another quick tip I can give you is to go to onlinestopwatch.com. I'll have a link in the description, and set an online loop timer for 23 minutes for your cannon so that an alarm will go off every 23 minutes reminding you to pick up your cannon. This will save you an ungodly amount of time, especially if you're somebody like me and that doesn't pay attention to the chat and doesn't notice that your cannon is about to decay message. So what the 23-minute loop timer does is it'll give you 2 minutes to pick up your cannon and place it back down before that it'll disappear. I highly recommend having this, especially if you have Alt-1. You can also do a screen grab of just that time and drag it onto your screen, as you saw in the clips that have been playing in the background, and it will be a huge help. I hope you guys enjoyed this guide, and I hope to see you next time. Bye!